fine, but if we didn't make it, that wasn't a big deal. It's a self-imposed deadline. And we talked about the warrant article, which I'll come to later on in the meeting, but I told her that the warrant was going to close on March 1st, that we had to do something at this meeting. But the way it looked, the financial aspects of the town meeting were not going to be taken up until June. She said that's not a problem. Now, she forwarded to me a thing called the vote bulletin, which I believe you all got.
Yeah, that was in the packet.
And that describes how the warrant article has to be written and submitted. So I think you also got in that a draft. Did you get the draft article we did? Not the first one, but the second one that conforms with that?
The one I got was the one I saw at the finance planning meeting.
Yeah, so that's not the one.
Okay.
Okay, let me go, when I finish here, I'll go back to the conference room and see if they're back there. At any rate, we drafted we redrafted the warrant article to conform with what's in the vote bulletin. And we've sent it to her to look at, and I also sent it over to the town administrator to look at to see if there were any problems that he had with it.
Keith, I didn't quite understand this because there's an article listed at the top, and then there's something called motion vote order underneath that. I didn't understand why it was written the way it's written. Is that like our description, the motion vote order, or I didn't quite understand it.
That's MSBA's description.
Okay, so that would go under. Would that go under our description here?
Yes,
We
I
put
think
that
so.
there and fill in
Yes.
our details, right? That's
Right.
what I thought. Okay.
Yep. But, like I said, as soon as I'm finished, I'll go take a look at this. We talked about the actual cost of the project, both the feasibility study and the project, and she said that will be determined in meetings with North Reading and MSBA. They'll review similar projects, look at uniqueness of our project, and working together determine an amount. And when you go to town meeting, she says round up, not down, because then you don't have to go back and ask for more money. Once we get all the initial forms in, there'll be more forms to work on. MSBA will become much more active with North Reading at this time. The feasibility study, as far as she's concerned, is still pretty far down the road. We have to complete a request for services document. We have to do a lot of stuff that will start before funds are approved. And MSBA will help with the hiring of OPM, and I specifically said to her, do you pick the OPM or do we pick the OPM? Do you pick the architect or do we pick the architect? We do it. Unless you decide that you want to use plans that already exist. And if you do that, then MSBA is going to tell you to take the architect to do the plans. But absent that, and we have no intention of doing that to my knowledge, we'll be able to pick the OPM and the architect. There will be a meeting, she said there absolutely will be a meeting prior to June. This miscellaneous stuff, MSBA website is massschoolbuilding.org, and on the website, under the capital planning heading, are guidelines for advertising for the OPM and the designer, the RFS, and what a contract looks like. So they have all this stuff online, and obviously if it's their form, then they're not going to fight with us over what it looks like. And I had put in your packet a couple of meetings ago, the email that we got on enrollment, and I said it looked like a lot of these things didn't apply to our project. Well, they don't. And what she said to me was, don't leave them out. It says talk about how you're going to have to redistrict. Well, obviously we're not. It's only one middle school. So she said, put that bullet in and write NA. So we know you've looked at it and it doesn't apply. If you don't put it in at all, we don't know whether you looked at it, it didn't apply, or you just missed it. Very helpful, very apologetic that she couldn't talk to us at 8:30 on Thursday morning. Very supportive. Chuck and I felt pretty comfortable and pretty good when we got off the phone.
She didn't offer like an extra 5% reimbursement.
Yeah.
She did not, as a matter of fact. I couldn't even get her up to 2.
All right, as long as you try.
So my concern continues to be, not as much concern about the makeup committee, although we're gonna have to get the right members soon. My one concern, though, is finding this person who's MCPPO certified. It's clear that we need to get that person on board very
We've
quickly.
got to find out about Greg. Is he
He's
original?
not.
Well, yeah, but,
He needs to take another course.
oh,
He told us that in the finance planning meeting.
Yeah, and he would have to,
how many people are certified? I mean,
That's what I don't know.
I was talking to Dr. Manville about this today. I get a newsletter from that organization, state agency, each month. It's the public procurement facet of state government. And it's been quite interesting to see that newsletter because every month they list those individuals across the Commonwealth who have been certified. And it's clear that these individuals are all citizens who are prospective school building committee members. In other words, what's happening is, in the process of formulating a committee, there are overtures going on where you seek an interested citizen who would have the time to become certified. The cost is several $1,000s that.
to become certified? or
Yeah,
to-
yeah, there's, I believe, either 4 or 5 courses. Each course is about 2 days, 2 8-hour days, always in Boston. So that's what's happening across the state. As Dr. Manville indicated, they're not looking for school administrators to be, they're looking for, aren't they trying to reduce?
yeah, it
Yes.
says,
So would we have to retain this person throughout the process, or would it be somebody that would have to just retain through the procurement stage?
I think they've got to be on through the whole
You have to stay on
process.
the-
I think you're on through the whole process.
So we'd be paying somebody, obviously, to do that.
It would probably cost, I'd have to look up the exact, but as much as $5,000 for the 4 or 5 courses that the school department would obviously have to, maybe you could fold that into the project, I'm not sure. But these courses are offered, as I said, only in Boston, because the Western Mass people have been unhappy about that. And they are offered frequently.
Is
let's
there,
see when Greg intends to finish the course.
is there a list of people who are certified that we could find on a website somewhere to see if
What are they,
there's
1 day?
anybody in North Reading that's certified?
Each class is 2 8-hour day times.
So Kyle, you could do that in 2 weeks.
I could.
I mean,
Then you had to be on the building committee for years. I mean,
Wouldn't it make sense if Greg is short just one?
Just to go do it.
Kind of like
right,
brought him to do it.
sure,
Yeah.
I think he wants to be on the committee anyway.
It would be appropriate.
let's communicate with him and see
Yeah.
what his intentions are, because that would be, I guess, the ideal situation.
He would have to complete it by the time they're ready to start the feasibility.
Right.
It says that person has to be on board at a time of procurement. I'm assuming that means when we hire whoever's
Yeah.
gonna do the
Well, when you look at
feasibility
your
study.
architect and your
Hire the
project
OPM and the
manager.
architect.
Yeah.
Right.
The other thing we have to find out, even if he says that he is more than willing to do it, is he thinks it's been 5 years since his last course, so he has to make sure that he doesn't
So
have
he's
to
starting.
go
Right.
back and start over.
Oh,
Yeah, let's find out
all right,
before we,
we've got to get that settled.
I'll check with him.
Well, see, and that's my main concern, Jerry. You weren't here the last meeting when the building committee was here, but there are several positions that I don't think we have members in the building committee who fill those roles.
Right.
right,
Right.
And we need to find those people pretty quickly.
Well, we have to find them, and then, find somebody that's qualified, and then make sure that they want to make this kind of a commitment. Those are 2 different things.
yeah, because it's a long term.
Yeah, as I said, what's happening is, I know this from other business managers, they literally post notices in their local papers saying, we are seeking an individual who would like to give back to the community by serving on this committee. It's I wouldn't call it extensive, but, you lay it out and people come forward.
Right,
Well, we should do that.
right.
I think we should check with Greg, and if he's not going to be able to move forward, we do need to find that person, and then we also need to figure out which slots we don't have people for on that. Now, the good news is it says that one person can fill more than one slot.
Right.
So we have, Greg could be both the town administrator position, obviously, and also the MC, or the PP, whatever it is.
Yeah,
MC, PPO.
and Cliff can be the school committee
School
member and
committee
the
and-
engineer.
one of the
Right.
engineer.
Right.
Although that might, I wonder if that would be a problem, since Keith is saying they're trying to have as few
Right.
school committee
I
people
think
on the.
They probably don't want that, you
Well, it
'Cause
doesn't say
Jerry's
you
already
can't,
on his
they're
school
just
committee.
saying they don't want.
Right.
We're talking about generally school department people.
School department.
You know, they
So-
don't want you to have a full, obviously, you don't want you to have a full boat of school people on it, because then they got this idea that you're gonna try to get some sort of palace out here.
As opposed to,
They don't understand
citizens.
what Reading's about.
Right.
One concern that I have, if I read this motion, it's talking about Prop 2.5.
I saw that.
A ballot
Yeah.
question, and I got the impression that we perhaps do not have to do that for the feasibility study portion.
It's $1 million, we might. I think the Finance Planning Committee, when we had discussed it, at one point, we were talking about $1 million, and then we went back down to maybe 100,000, and I think it's gonna depend on the amount of money in terms of whether it has to go for an override or not. Isn't that correct?
right, but this one doesn't.
No, but that's not, we can't use that one. That,
No,
we
that's
have to
the one you
use,
can't use.
we have to
Their
use
form.
this and this as the description, I believe. And this says about 2.5 override, which we're not going to be, hopefully not going to be seeking to.
Then you have to have it come up in an election.
Right.
which We probably don't have an election scheduled.
We'd have to schedule a special election to, because the election wouldn't be scheduled until October or September for the primaries.
Well, isn't our advantage.
Absolutely.
I think, the part that's in here about Proposition 2.5 is parenthetical. And I
Yeah.
think it's only applicable if you're going
If
for an
you need-
override.
Right.
I think so too.
That's the way, now, when I drafted it.
Oh, okay, it is in, you're right, it's
Yeah.
in parentheses, I didn't see that, okay.
When I drafted the article, the actual article, which I'll go get for you, I put that in there. My guess is that Diane Sullivan's gonna email me back and say, take it out, unless you're going for an override.
But see, that's the problem, we don't know, because
Right.
Finance Planning Committee, Selectmen and Finance Committee hasn't been clear as to whether we'd have to or not, depending on the amount.
Right, and they still have to vote, so there are only 2 members of their board.
Right.
Diane didn't have a number or a range or any point.
No, and I've got a call into Brad Dorr, he was away all last week,
I think we should,
and I'll try and, if he doesn't call me back tomorrow morning, I'll give him another call.
I think we should put the $1 million in there and leave in all the wording and send it. It can always be decreased or downsized.
know. Yeah.
But we can't go back later and put the
Never
wording
had time going up, if
I
to
did.
$1 million.
you'd have a hard time going up after.
Right.
That's a lot, how are they gonna appropriate that without?
Wait,
If that would require an override,
It's-
there's no way you can get $1 million. And I just don't see how you can find that without an override.
I know, but we should leave that for later discussion. I mean, if it comes to that point, we can vote to
Well,
take
yeah,
it
let's,
off the table.
let's put the warrant article in, we'll put the $1 million in the warrant article.
Yeah, and if there's some way through debt stabilization or
And we may find out that we're not at that level.
postpone till October.
Well, I had spoke to Greg, and he said, don't put an amount in the warrant article, and then the amount is given on the night that the vote's
We
taken.
can do that?
You know how there are many articles that way, it says an amount to be specified, and then
Right.
at the night of the town meeting,
As long as we get the article in.
it's specified.
Right.
Carl, am I correct?
You have to
That's
get a
correct. I
vote.
know the Finance Committee has been asking
Yeah.
that practice be minimized.
Okay.
But I think this
I think
is a
this-
different issue. This is
Right.
for a different reason.
Right.
I think we're justified in doing that, because we're guessing right now as to what it might cost.
Yeah,
Might even be close to a wild guess.
but we have to take some kind of action.
Yeah, we do.
We have to
I
push
think
the
we have to put
warrant.
the warrant article in,
But
right?
my issue is we need to, and I think we asked Chuck to get back to us, or someone from the committee, we need to find out exactly what members we need for that committee.
Well, don't we know that?
We
No,
have-
because we don't know, I don't know who on the committee meets some of the criteria. I don't have that list with me tonight.
That's what he's
Yeah,
doing?
we'll ask him to match his names up with the
Yeah.
specific roles.
Because, yeah, I don't want to, I think time's the essence here. We need to get, something in the paper. We need to push Greg on this MCPPO thing, if he's going to be able to do that or not. And then if not, as Carl says, we may have to advertise for that person, and we may have to spend the money for that person to take those courses. We'll have to spend the money.
I guess what I'm asking is if somebody's already certified and already